Holding on to a modest gain for stocks this morning, 33 points higher, 25,890 is where we are. Now look who's here. He's laughing. I don't know why he's laughing. I'm going to give him a hard time. His name is David Stockman, former Reagan budget director and perpetual bear. Yeah. The crash is coming. The crash is coming. The crash is coming. I have a problem with this. Okay. I know your logic. I've heard all about it. But you keep on predicting the great crash is coming. If I'd have followed your advice, I would have been out of this market during one of the greatest bull runs in history.
Well, that would have been true in the year 2000. It would have been true in the year 2008. We go through business cycles. We're in month 110 of this expansion. Last time we were at month 110 was April 2000. The unemployment rate was 3.8%. The job creation rate in the prior 6 months was 273,000 per month. This is what an economy looks like at the end of a business cycle when it's about ready to roll over into the next recession. That's where I think we are now. Not the rear view mirror, but looking forward. Three big forces that aren't good for the economy. Number one, the Fed is tightening like never before, Stuart. You've got to take account of the fact that the Fed has been off the deep end for 8 years, pumping money like there's no tomorrow, expanding. But wait a minute. Now it's going to be shrinking its balance sheet, QT, by $600 billion a year for the first time in history. That's more in 1 year than the entire balance sheet of the Fed in 2000. That's number one. Number two, the Trump tariffs are going to hit the economy, with a gale force that will accelerate inflation, force the Fed to tighten even faster. And third, we're in the 10th year of a recovery, and Trump is raising the deficit to $1.2 trillion a year. That's crazy.
Okay, I understand the argument.
Yes,
I do see the logic.
Okay,
and you've laid it out very well.
Okay,
but I've heard it all before, and unless you can tell me when the crash comes, I'm not going to take any notice of you. I'm sorry, I'm just not.
Okay, but I'm not in the forecasting business. I am actually a political and economic philosopher. I believe in sound money. I believe in fiscal regulation.
Look, there's a forecast built into your analysis.
So
of course there is. The crash is coming. So tell me when.
I have no idea when, but I would say we're in the final days when you look at the firestorm that's coming down the road.
Okay, and listen to me for a second.
Okay.
I've done very well.
Do you think you can? I know you've done well, but the point is you can have a bubble that extends for 7, 8, or 9 years. The last three have, and then they end in tears. The last time the NFIB, wait a minute, you mentioned it this morning, 107 all-time high. No. In April 2005, it was also at 107. The stock market then was at 1,200, and it took 5 years to get back there.
I understand it.
There's
hear
business
the
cycles.
Logic. Wait a minute.
Okay, all right.
Let's suppose I agree with you that this bubble is going to end in tears, and I want to get out. I just got to get out. Suppose I did that, and I sold all my Microsoft. I've made a lot of money in Microsoft. I sell it. I sell everything I've got. What do I buy?
What you do is you put it in cash and you wait for the correction, and then you buy low and then you ride the next cycle, because that's the way the economy works.
All cash. David Stockman says all
cash. It would be a good idea.
That means
right
my
now.
Bank account, my checking account.
Yeah,
Stick it all in there.
Or buy some treasuries. They're now yielding 2.8%. The 2 years yielding 2.8%. All the while people were buying stock, the yield was zero. We are normalizing rapidly, and money is going to move.
So David Stockman says the crash is coming. Go to all cash or treasuries. Be absolutely liquid so that when the crash comes, you buy cheap on the other side.
You swoop in.
Will you still not tell me when the crash comes?
It's impossible to predict because we're in uncharted waters. The Fed has never kept interest rates in negative terms, in real terms after inflation, for 8 years running. It's never happened. This is a giant academic experiment that can't end well because money can't be at zero or negative cost for 8 years.
You've done well. I don't know what you're worth. I'm not going to ask you. I don't care.
Yeah.
But you've done well. You're not poor.
Right.
What have you done with your money for the last 10 years?
I've kept it basically in cash. And
So you missed the market rally.
yeah, and the other, well, okay, in March 27, 2000, the NASDAQ 100 was at 47. Wait a minute.
All these
No, wait a
numbers.
minute, Stuart. You have to hear this. Your viewers should hear this. At that last bubble, March 27, 2000, 4,700 on the NASDAQ 100. 13 trading days later, it was at 3,200. 33% vaporized in 13 days. People didn't know what hit them. 2 years later, it was at 800. They lost 83% of their position. When you get to the top of the bubble, prudence says take your winnings, put them in the bank, and wait for the next go-around, because we have an unsound monetary system. We have Keynesians that you dislike, that I dislike, running the central bank, thinking that they can control the whole economy by manipulating interest rates and fueling stock market, wealth effects.
Do you see what you did, David?
What?
When you started this interview, literally 3.5, 4 minutes ago,
Yeah.
the Dow Jones average was up 15 points.
Yes?
You told them, everybody, get out of stocks. Oh, wait a second. The trade rep is speaking. Is that Canada's trade rep?
Yeah.
She's speaking in French.
Every time.
Every time. I'm sorry, David. I was in full flight there. That is Canada's foreign minister who talks on trade in Washington, D.C. She's come out to the cameras. She's speaking in French. I don't know what she said. We'll find out pretty
take a
fast.
guess.
Maybe she said something positive because the Dow Industrials have just moved up a little bit. Maybe it's a positive statement. I'm waiting for her to switch to English or answer questions in English, and then we'll have a better sense of where she's coming from and what the impact on the market is. I can still hear French.
Yes.
I'm waiting for her to come to the end of this little statement. Okay. Right, we're going to leave the shot up, and as soon as she goes to English, you'll hear from her. Stockman still with me.
Let me speak in numbers. The Canadian trade imbalance is immaterial. It's $17 billion, okay? Our problem is China, okay? And if Trump goes ahead and puts tariffs on $500 billion worth of goods from China, that is going to fuel an inflation.
I think it's $267 billion.
No, on top of 200, on top of 50 that we already have. He wants to go the whole way.
You put the tariffs on, and it's curtains.
It's $100 billion.
Would that be the signal?
Yeah.
If he puts all these tariffs on against China, that is the signal that the crash is starting?
It's the orange swan.
The orange swan.
Yeah, we're not going to have a black swan this time. The orange swan is sitting in the Oval Office, and he's a dangerous man.
Stockman, she's speaking in English. Listen to this, please.
Of a tremendous tragedy. Today is September 11th. And I think above all, it's important to pause today to remember all of the people who died and all of their families in this horrific, brutal attack. I think it's also a day when we can remember the way, and this day was a tragedy for the United States and a tragedy for Canada and a tragedy for the world. And above all, I would just like to express Canada's continued solidarity with the United States on this anniversary and with all of the people who suffered personally so horribly. Ambassador Kraft, I believe, won't be with us today here at this meeting. She's been working very hard and has been part of the U.S. team because she's in Gander, Newfoundland. And I think that's a very appropriate place to also think about when we think about this tragic anniversary. So, and I think that remembering today and what happened today, maybe that helps us all put into perspective the negotiations that we're having, and also put into a little bit of historical perspective the importance and the significance of the relationship between Canada and the United States. At the end of the day, we're neighbors, and at the end of the day, neighbors help each other when they need help. So turning to NAFTA, I spoke with Ambassador Lighthizer over the weekend. There was a lot of contact between our teams, and we agreed that it would be useful to continue talking today. And so we're back for more negotiations. The conversations over the weekend continued to be constructive and productive. Retournons sur le sujet de l'ALENA. J'ai parlé avec l'ambassadeur Lighthizer
Okay,
pendant la fin de semaine.
It doesn't matter whether
Nos
she's speaking
équipes
in
ont
English
continué
or
de
French.
travailler.
None of it makes any sense.
Okay, but, well, in all seriousnly, she addressed that this is the 17th anniversary
Yeah.
of 9/11. She addressed that.
That's different.
She did say that the event today, the 17th anniversary, helps put in perspective the issues that we are discussing, and that will be trade issues between Canada and the United States. After that, she said that there had been continuing negotiations, they had been productive and positive. And the Dow Jones average has gone up 70 points. So there you have it. I just want to say thank you very much for David Stockman. He took my abuse with great calm and courage this morning. We listened to what you said, David, and we appreciate it too.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.